This Aaron Rodgers information is starting to get really sticky and really fascinating because there's a lot of conflicting reports, and we need to really sift out this entire story to really add structure to what's going on. Really quickly, before we get to the content, I just want to remind you guys I'm giving away a pair of Apple AirPod Maxes to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. Whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, if you sub and hit that notification bell, you've officially entered for a chance to win Apple AirPod Maxes. I'm going to announce the winner of the giveaway next week on my community tab, guys. And now that we got all that out of the way, break. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I asked you guys on my social media platforms on Instagram and Twitter, what team do you think Aaron Rodgers is most likely to get traded to? And I know some of you guys might be thinking, hey, this is going way too far. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded. So let me give you all the information we know so far for this first minute, and you can determine for yourself whether you think Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded or not, because we've seen situations like this before many times this offseason. Off the top of my head, we saw Carson Wentz get into it with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles ended up firing their head coach, and we thought they were going to keep Carson Wentz, but they ended up trading Carson Wentz. Then you had the Deshaun Watson situation, where Deshaun Watson literally came out and demanded a trade after not being involved in personnel decisions with the Houston Texans because he wanted to pick who they were going to hire as their general manager, or at least have a voice in who they were hiring as their general manager and head coach. He eventually ended up demanding a trade, and after a couple of months of teams really pursuing Deshaun Watson, well, we know how that's going so far. He's been involved in a huge lawsuit, and unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of talks about him getting traded so far, and there might be a chance that he doesn't even play this year due to a holdout or due to him focusing on the legal battles that he's dealing with outside of football. Then, of course, you have Russell Wilson, who came out and said something very similar as to Deshaun Watson, saying that he wanted to be involved in more personnel decisions. He wanted the Seattle Seahawks to allow him to cook a little bit more, not be so run heavy, get him an offensive line. Russell Wilson cited the fact that he was watching Tom Brady absolutely carve up defenses in the Super Bowl with a remarkable team around him, and he was jealous of that. And eventually, what happened with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson is they really reaffirmed their commitment to him and said, hey, we are not trading Russell Wilson no matter what. The Seahawks didn't have a lot of draft capital this year, but they spent their first pick in the second round on a wide receiver. So I guess that's kind of showing commitment to Russell Wilson. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. Aaron Rodgers would take the NFL draft by storm by coming out via Ian Rappaport and saying that he is so disgruntled with the Green Bay Packers and the way they're running their operation that he will not return to the Green Bay Packers next year. And man, this dominated the NFL draft. This was the main storyline heading into the NFL draft, which was a very QB heavy draft. And now you have an additional Hall of Fame quarterback that is available via trade if you play your cards right. And originally, the San Francisco 49ers were thought to be very interested, holding the number 3 overall pick in the draft. Kyle Shanahan reached out to Matt LaFleur and asked him, hey, what do you think about me reaching out and trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, the exact truth is, I don't want to wake up the next day on Friday and see Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in this league, traded without doing any due diligence on it. So I just called Matt and asked him if there was anything to it. And Matt told me I'd be wasting my time if we had Lynch call. And so Lynch did not call anyone the next day. But yes, I did reach out to Matt the night before and asked him hey man, I don't want to wake up the next day and see that Aaron was traded for something. I didn't at least look into it. And so that's what I did with Matt, and he gave me a very quick answer. So I didn't even tell John to call Goody. So I think that worked out, I guess. We were happy to get our guy, and hopefully it'll work out for them.
As time progressed forward and the NFL draft came and went, we saw some interesting things happen with some QB-needy teams, well, one QB-needy team in particular, but by the conclusion of the draft, there was no Aaron Rodgers trade officially. Aaron Rodgers would then come out and threaten retirement if Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers, was still there, which is very terrifying because if you retire at the age of 37, chances are you're not going to come back, and then provided a little bit more info as to why he's so frustrated with the Green Bay Packers. And this was a bunch of stuff. There was multiple things he said. One, Aaron Rodgers wanted a contract extension. Another thing was he was very upset about the fact that the Green Bay Packers drafted Jordan Love last year, and they even traded up to try to draft Jordan Love. And finally, yesterday he mentioned that he was very frustrated that the Green Bay Packers released one of his favorite wide receivers, Jake Kumaro. And tell me if this sounds familiar, folks. He also said that he wanted to be involved in personnel decisions a little bit more. So that's where we stand currently. And you, the viewer, might be thinking, Mike, I've watched like 4 Aaron Rodgers videos. He hasn't been traded. You're making all this stuff up because if he is to be traded, then why hasn't he been traded yet? Well, there's a pretty good explanation for this, so I'm going to piece this all together for you guys right now. So check this out. The Denver Broncos were probably the closest to trading for Aaron Rodgers, and they were the most quarterback-needy team outside of the top 3 of the NFL draft that were in the top 10 of the NFL draft. And with the 9th pick, especially being a Cowboys fan, I really expected Justin Fields or Mac Jones to go off of the board. Every time I did a mock draft, I mocked a quarterback to the Broncos, and I don't think that was a long shot at all whatsoever, because the Broncos have needed a quarterback ever since Peyton Manning decided to make his departure. And while Drew Lock showed some promise in his brief rookie season, he definitely took a step back last season. Yeah, the Broncos traded for Teddy Bridgewater, but Bridgewater is an average bridge quarterback. He's not really the full-time solution under center. So with that being said, you would think that the Broncos would draft a player like Justin Fields, but with the 9th pick, they decided to break my heart and take Patrick Surtain II. And we found out eventually the reason for this was because the Denver Broncos were really close to trading for Aaron Rodgers, but by the conclusion of the NFL draft, Aaron Rodgers was still a Green Bay Packer. And this is despite us hearing many rumors about the situation. Over the last 24 hours, we heard that Aaron Rodgers would love to go to the Denver Broncos and play Patrick Mahomes twice a year. And this is according to Rich Eisen, saying he would actually love to beat Mahomes, and he would love to send Mahomes to the wild card every year. And looking at the Denver Broncos roster, initially when people asked me on Twitter whether Rodgers to the Broncos made sense, I didn't really think of it much. But then I thought that this is a team that has a pretty good defense, has a remarkable wide receiver core. When you think of Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, then Noah Fant, and of course he has Melvin Gordon in his backfield, this is a pretty good team to be the quarterback of. This is a team that could definitely use a Hall of Fame QB and could pretty much be pushed right into the Super Bowl contention discussion. So if what I'm saying is true, why haven't the Green Bay Packers traded Aaron Rodgers yet? Well, get this, guys, and we've discussed this before about other quarterbacks potentially. This is a time where we could see Watson get traded as well, potentially, and it has to do with the official new league year. You see, June 1st is when the new league year starts, and if the Green Bay Packers were to trade Aaron Rodgers before June 1st, they would take a pretty sizable cap hit of about $20 million. But if they waited until after June 1st, technically Aaron Rodgers is being traded in the new league season. So as a result of that, the Green Bay Packers won't need to take as much of a cap hit. And when you're trading a player that is being paid that much money, chances are you want to be in a situation where you're not going to be taking as much of a cap hit. And when you think about it, this makes a ton of sense. According to Mike Silver of the NFL Network, the Denver Broncos have really done their diligence in order to potentially put themselves in a situation to trade for Aaron Rodgers. They were even considering a trade down from the number 9 overall pick in order to get additional draft capital to send for Aaron Rodgers. So according to Silver, if the Packers were in fact willing to discuss a potential trade for Rodgers, even if it were to be negotiated after the draft, the general manager of the Broncos' plan would have been to try to trade down with a team like the New Orleans Saints and accumulate future assets like a first and second round pick in 2022 that he could use as part of a package to send to Green Bay. Now again, Brian Gutekunst made it clear through a third party that he wouldn't even entertain Aaron Rodgers trade talks, but the general manager of the Broncos tabled that idea and didn't really get rid of it entirely. Later in the draft, the Broncos GM considered a move back into the first round for a Miami pass rusher like Jalen Phillips, who ended up going to the Dolphins, and at one point he ended up on the phone with Gutekunst. And only because there were time constraints at the time, they didn't really discuss the Aaron Rodgers situation. So the Broncos remain extremely interested in Aaron Rodgers, but we can't expect a trade until after this month, and that's when we could potentially see more quarterbacks on the move, which is why I really thought it was disappointing when the Philadelphia Eagles opted to trade Carson Wentz so early on in the offseason, because they took a huge cap hit when they decided to do so. You could expect potentially a decent amount of quarterback movement in about a month from now, or other big trades in about a month from now. But for now, Aaron Rodgers remains a Green Bay Packer. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is going to happen with this situation? Do you think Aaron Rodgers will start next season as a Green Bay Packer, or he'll probably end up on a different team? Will that different team be the Denver Broncos, or another team that I didn't mention in this video? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. I'll be discussing this in a live stream on my Instagram later on today. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.